All right, today I want to talk numbers with you. We've had so many great conversations related to the deferred resignation offer and people trying to make decisions, including VERA in the equation. If you're eligible for that VERA from your agency, if you can be authorized for it. And I think what we found is we're overlooking some really important things when trying to make this decision. Okay. And what I'm going to share with you in the video today, it does apply, of course, to making the decision now with the deferred resignation offer, but also in the future when you plan your exit from your federal career. Okay, so I think there's good information here. I hope you can use this information over the weekend if you haven't made your decision yet. If you have, I hope you come to something that you think is best for your family. I know it's really a stressful time, so um, there with you guys on that one. So what I want to do here today specifically is share an example with you, and this is really close to a lot of the conversations that we've had this week. Okay. So in my example here, I've got a federal employee living in the Washington, D.C. area. They're a GS 14 Step 7, 54 years old with 21 years of service. Okay. And I based the high three on the last 3 years of salary. Okay. So this would be 2022, 23, and 24. We've got a high three salary of 159, 198. They're considering going out on VERA. All right. In which case they would be eligible and they'd be able to take an immediate annuity and continue their health benefits right away. Okay. Now, that first pension comes out to be $33,431 a year. So that's the max annuity, unreduced, that you could take. And there would be reductions to this, of course. So we'd be talking about the survivor benefit for a spouse. We'd be talking about taxes. We'd be talking about FEHB, your health insurance coverage, as well as if you wanted to continue any life insurance coverage under FEGLI. So those are potential reductions that would come off of that number. All right, so it would be reduced from there. So that's a nice annuity, right? And you could take that and, maybe you're considering what your prospects are to do something else in private industry and, kind of move on, or maybe it's the right time to exit. You've been waiting for a VERA, in which situation this could be great. Okay. But there's a couple things that people haven't been considering. In particular is the opportunity cost associated with leaving now versus, a few years down the road when you're eligible for normal retirement, your benefits have a chance to accrue. And so a couple of the big things in this scenario for this employee, they wouldn't receive any cost of living adjustments until age 62. So you're going out at 54, you've got 8 years until your first pension would start being adjusted for the COLAs. Okay. Also, you would be eligible for a special retirement supplement, but not until you hit your minimum retirement age. So there'd be a gap there of, probably 3 years at 57 if that's the MRA. And then, of course, considering this is a legacy employee, what they're contributing to the first pension is 0.8%, which is a pretty low amount for the benefit that's coming back to you with each additional year of service. Okay, so there's opportunity cost there. All right, so those are some things that we want to think about. Now, if this employee, they don't, they're not in a bad situation, it's not untenable. So let's say they continue working, right? And they go until they reach, normal retirement, which in this case, again, the same circumstances here, GS 14 Step 7. We won't assume any grade or step increases in this simplified example, but they go to age 60 because they'd be 60 with 20 years of service. The service would increase from 21 up to 27 years. And then the high three based on built in an additional 2% cost of living adjustments on the salary. Who knows if those come or not, but that's kind of what I've included in the calculation here. So we get up to 185, 103 would be their high three. Now, if I run the numbers on that, that gives me a pension of $49,978 a year. So, $16,547 increase over a 6-year time period. So that's pretty significant when we're talking about guaranteed income from the federal government to, last throughout your retirement, throughout your life. Okay. Now, in this circumstance, this employee would be eligible for the special retirement supplement right away at 60. So they could take that from 60 to 62. There wouldn't be any cost of living adjustments until 62. So that still rings true in this circumstance too. Now, what does this translate to in lost opportunity cost? So if you go out at 54 and you give up this $16,547 a year in guaranteed annual income, what's that translate to in portfolio dollars? Okay. So if I run the numbers on that, I'd take 16,547 and I assume a 4% withdrawal rate. I mean, it's kind of the safe number that a lot of folks will use. That's going to give me a number of $413,675. So that's what you'd need to come up with in portfolio money over a 6-year time period from 54 to 60 in order to match that $16,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate. Okay, does it make sense? Now, maybe that's not a fair comparison because the FERS annuity is an annuity, so it's, it's a little bit different than taking money out of a portfolio. So if you want to look at it that way, 16,547 times 13.3 would be the number we would use for an annuity. That would give us about a 7.5% distribution rate, which is what a lot of private annuities might base it on now, somewhere around there. This is a rough number, again, of course. So if I take those numbers, that gives me about $220,075. So that's the amount that you would need to come up with to then go buy an annuity to receive that 16,547. Okay, so that's kind of the opportunity cost, what you'd need to save. And what I'm hearing is, can you find another job at this point? You leave at 54, you try to go private industry, maybe you find a competitive salary, but will you be able to save enough to make up for the lost TSP match, as well as your lost FERS annuity benefits that would accumulate over that time period for a relatively small contribution rate on your side of things, right? If less than 1% you're contributing, the agency is making up the difference. So that's a pretty big number. Okay, so I hope that helps give you a little bit of perspective. And I said, numbers aren't the only part of this equation. If you're ready to go, you're ready to go, but it's good to see how these things change. The other part of it is, and this one's pretty big actually, and I don't know that we're giving this enough attention right now, cost of living adjustments. So, the inflation has been a bigger deal over the last few years, as we came out of the pandemic. If we use a more normalized rate just to kind of project how it's going to go over the next few years. So, in the first circumstance, we said they're 54, so they've got 8 years until 62 before the cost of living adjustments would kick in. And that annuity was for $33,431. Okay. So if we assume a 3% inflation rate over the next 8 years, that's going to give us, an ending value purchasing power of 26,201. So you're going to lose $7,000 in purchasing power based on that 3% inflation rate over an 8-year time period. Okay. So that's significant. Your 33,431 is now worth 26,201 when it comes to purchasing power. Now, the same thing on the other side, you are going to lose some purchasing power from 60 to 62, but it's 2 years instead of 8. So in that circumstance, at a 3% inflation rate, your purchasing power would be 47,124. So, close to $3,000, but nowhere near as significant. Plus, you're working with a larger number. So I think these are two things that we're just kind of maybe not talking enough about as we consider taking the VERA and what might be next. All right, so I hope you found this helpful. Again, these are just some things that have been coming up in the conversations we've been having this week as we're kind of working through the financial planning aspects of this. Of course, I know the numbers aren't the only part of the equation, but it's definitely something to consider. Okay, so if you need help making these kind of decisions and looking at things from different angles, we'd love to be a resource for you. So please feel free to go ahead and reach out. And also, I just would love to hear, how some of the decision-making process is going for you, and see where we're at, because I know it's been really an unusual time to say the least. All right, so I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you next time.